Hey everybody, this is Lowell, and we're talking about how to start a music school. And I'm in this section talking about core competencies, things that every musician should know and every music school should teach, in my opinion. And the this first area of scales and of fundamental exercises, I call them micro exercises and micro patterns. They kind of go together, but there's another concept I wanted to talk about, and that is, scales are the building block of all music. Throughout all history, for thousands of years, we've even going back to pre-classical music. Take 2,000 years ago, they had these basically modes that were the scales that were used in the surrounding countries around the Middle East. And so, and it's a 7-note scale normally. So, anyway, the micro patterns are what you do to develop fundamental techniques in terms of hand motion, physical motion that helps you play the scales correctly and well. But the concept I wanted to share in this video is at a certain point, the scales, let's just say that the scales are linear. At a certain point, you want the scales to morph into what we would call vertical. So horizontal versus vertical. And this can be true in any discipline. It can be true in even non-pitch instruments like drums. There's a vertical way of playing drums, and then there's a horizontal way of playing drums. And so what I'm trying to say is that when you're dealing with pitched instrument, particularly, you're dealing with horizontal scales, and then at some point the scales will morph into patterns that are more vertical. And so the vertical aspect would be what we would call arpeggios. In other words, when melodies start becoming harmony. Harmonies generally are understood as vertical patterns. Whenever you play a chord on a guitar or hit a chord on a piano, you're creating a moment in time which is structurally a vertical sonority, whereas on top of that you can have a soaring melody which is horizontal in nature. And so with technique, how that applies to technique is that you want sort of a bridge between scales to where the scales become more chordal or patterned towards harmony. And so, an illustration of that would be, playing in thirds or sixths or, intervallic scales, arpeggios, and with string technique, we have what we call triple and double stops and quadruple stops, where you start playing chordally. And so that aspect of understanding the difference between horizontal and vertical, I think, is important.